You're listening to the Bear in Mind podcast, episode number 61.
A podcast uncovering identity, color, and love, where driving yourself crazy is totally sane and curable. Now your host, T. Vias.
I'm excited to talk about strength training today. I've been doing strength training for 1 year, and so I thought I'd talk about kind of the lessons, the learnings I've had from doing it for 1 year. And I said before that I kind of wanted to do more of a documenting as I go through stuff, as I go through improving my health and things like that. And I kind of wish I had done this when I started a year ago. However, I tried to condense all the learnings and think back on how it went and how I started. And so here are kind of the three big learnings that I had. Number one is I was really surprised at how little it took to start at strength training. And I think this might be actually true for other things that you're actually trying to start, is that I think in our head we kind of make it like, oh, we're going to have to do this, this, and this, and this. And then when you actually look at what's needed, the bare minimum to get started, it's not very much. And I think for me, I was like, well, do I need to go back to the gym? I had stopped my gym membership when COVID had started, the lockdown and things like that. And I thought, well, am I going to have to start paying again for a membership? And I didn't want to. So I actually bought a book, and I've talked about this book before. It's called Lift Like a Girl by Nia Shanks. And this book, I think, is really good if you are a total beginner to strength training and want something simple yet effective. And from her descriptions and everything like that, I was able to do it and see, and she had photos in the book to see the form and things like that. And I think she also has videos online in her social media to show you to make sure you have the form, but she simplified everything. And I think that goes back to, we make things bigger than they seem because we don't even have the information in front of us yet. We decided to create this story of like, okay, we're going to have to pay for a gym membership or all these kind of things. And when actually it's not true. So I decided not to go back to the gym, and I bought kind of cheaper equipment. I didn't go cheap in one area, but overall I spent about 350 euros. So whatever that translates into your currency. And so she kind of has two tiers of the program where to start out. And so that involved having a barbell with some weights. And then I bought like this, it's a cheaper set where you can then do dumbbells. And then I actually decided to get a really good band to help with some other strength training movements where you attach it to a firm structure like a door or something, and then you can use it to pull yourself. I didn't go less on that. I did buy the actual band that they suggested. It was a TRX band. And that was it. It was only these, I would say, two equipments, the band and then the barbell/dumbbell. Since I went cheaper, it kind of came together as one thing. And I have to say that if you know when you're committed to strength training, and I have to say, when I started it, I don't think I was committed to doing it. I was like, I'll give it a try, so I'm not going to put the money there, which I actually think was a little bit of a mistake. It's a learning. I do wish that I hadn't gone so cheap on it, because now I'm at a point where I want to up-level my strength training, and I'm finding that that's not possible with the equipment that I have. So, but if the budget is concerned, I definitely recommend you can get away with it with kind of this medium kind of quality for the dumbbells and the barbell. And so I'll put the link to the book that I referenced here. And yeah, that was a big takeaway, how little it actually takes to start strength training. And I do it today in my apartment. And the equipment doesn't actually take up that much space. So the equipment I got is you can actually break it down so it can take up less space. So the second big learning I actually had, and now this is kind of funny because I actually knew about this before I actually did it, is that when you start something new, it's kind of generally suggested that you start from a place of a bare minimum. Like at a place, if you're starting to exercise or you want to increase your cardio or something like that, start at the bare minimum that you know you'll be able to do once a week. So if you're starting from zero, you don't have any cardio in your life, then what is the minimum amount of cardio you can do in 1 week? And if that is 5 minutes walk around your block in your neighborhood, for sure, 100% guaranteed, rain or shine, night or day, you'll get it done. And I didn't do that. I read in the book, she suggests, doing what you can. And her recommendation is 3 times a week. And I went in with, I'm going to do strength training 3 times a week. And although I started out really kind of motivated to do this 3 times a week, it didn't last. And so what I ended up finding out is that my bare minimum for strength training was actually 2 times a week, because I do have cardio that I do during the week. And so with my schedule at that time, I was finding that what I was actually doing was 2 times a week. So I think that's the learning, is that it's really to be honest with yourself on what your bare minimum is, so you can really kind of set yourself for success. If you know that if it's going to be 1 time a week as a bare minimum you can do strength training, then I would start there. And so the funny thing that happens is when you do start at this bare minimum, you don't actually stay at the bare minimum. So I kind of accepted this 2 times a week doing the strength training. And at some point, and I would say it was about 7 months in, all of a sudden I wanted to do 3 times a week. And I don't know, and I wish I kind of documented this, like what happened. And the last 5 months of the year, I've been doing 3 times a week. Now there's certain exceptions, like when I wasn't feeling well or something like that. But basically, I'm at 3 times a week. And kind of the theory behind kind of being honest with yourself with the bare minimum is the same also with what my first lesson was, how little it takes to start something, but also how little energy you need to put into getting started. We often go into what's the best gym or what's the best program or what's the best equipment, rather than what's the bare minimum or the essential that you actually need to get started? What's the bare minimum weights you need to get started? And what is it you can do right now? Can you do 1 time a week? And starting from there, and I pretty much, your brain will kick in. If you stay consistent at doing your bare minimum, it'll kick it up. Be like, well, I think we can do 2 times a week now. You'll be amazed that after a few months of doing something at your bare minimum, how your brain will kind of shift and make room to increase it. It'll kind of want to up level where you're at. And that was something that was interesting, is that it kind of just happened naturally. I'd kind of had said, okay, I'm going to stick to 2 times a week. And then naturally I moved into 3 times a week. And the last learning, which probably is going to be the best learning that I have, because it can translate to so many other things I do in my life. So I've been doing strength training a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week. And I can tell you that out of all the times I've done it, in this 365 days out of the year, there have been a handful of times that I have been motivated to do it. And that means that all the other times that strength training was on my schedule, I didn't want to do it. I wasn't motivated. And I even found my brain trying to talk me out of doing it. It was on my schedule for the morning. And the thing about that is that motivation, there's kind of this, I think, lie we tell ourselves, is that motivation needs to be there. We need to be motivated to exercise. We need to be motivated to do this, this, and this. And the truth is that motivation isn't coming. I didn't find that in the 1 year, again, that handful of times, I'm like 5 to 10 times out of the whole year, that I actually remember being excited to do strength training. And all the other times I either was kind of indifferent, like, oh, okay, it's on my agenda, I'll do it. Or I was dreading it. I really didn't want to do it. And I was really trying to talk myself out of it. And I think when you know that motivation isn't going to be there, then you have nothing to wait for, and you can then get started. And what has happened every time that I have started strength training when I wasn't motivated was that motivation would meet me halfway. And so it's kind of like I can get started and I know that motivation will meet me sometime by the time that I end my whole strength training routine. And that's something that is actually really fantastic to know, that it's not going to be there when you have it in your agenda, when you have it on your schedule to do it. You're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to want to do it. Your brain's going to want to tell you to do something else, get distracted. You know that once you do it, once you get started, that motivation will be there, because it's usually something that comes after you get started. And so I actually saw that a number of times throughout this whole year, and it was such a great lesson to see, because after 1 year, I was like, wow, there's only like 5 to 10 times I really felt motivated. And to know that no matter what I do next and things like that, I can just do it and not wait around for motivation. So those are my 3 lessons from strength training. One is it takes very little to get started. 2 is start with the bare minimum, also including bare minimum equipment and bare minimum of time that you have to start. And this includes any other kind of exercising that you want to implement. And 3, the biggest lie, motivation's not going to be there when you need it. It'll meet you halfway. And so I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'll check back with you next week.
Thanks for listening. Listen for a new episode next Tuesday by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Bye for now.